Hello, and welcome to the Thrive Mindset Podcast. I am so glad you are here with me. My name is Carrie Dale, and I am your host. I am an entrepreneur, author, podcaster, manifester, and motivator. And I am on a mission to empower you to create the life of your dreams. If you are looking to up-level your life, relationships, finances, productivity, and success, you have come to the right place. I will share with you tools, resources, strategies, my failures, and my successes that have all helped me achieve the life of my dreams. It is my goal with this podcast to help you see your potential and empower you to create the life of your dreams. So let's get to it. Well, welcome back to the Thrive Mindset Podcast. I'm Carrie Dale, your host, and today I am incredibly excited and honored to have Merry Vediner with me. She is my friend, but she is someone who is beyond inspiring and has lived through things that most of us haven't, and we probably hope we won't. But in all of that, she has thrived in life and she's come out on top and she's created things to help the rest of us do as well. Welcome, Merry.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. I so appreciate this experience and opportunity because someone who's listening to this is going to be alive in a year because of it.
Yeah. And that's exactly why I wanted to do it. And like I told you, I wanted to end my year with you because you bring hope and you bring joy and you bring all the things that we're all craving this time of year. Can we start with your story?
So actually, today I'm on the 6th day of my 10th year of being diagnosed with ovarian cancer.
Wow.
And I had the great fortune to have, and I still have, my next door neighbor who had a very good friend who was a physician here locally. And she was dying. She was at the end of her life with ovarian cancer. We happened to have a pool, and the physician who was at the end of her life came over and we were sitting together. And this was about 3 weeks before she transitioned, before her life ended. Her life here ended. And so I asked her, what were the symptoms? How would we know? Is there anything you would like to share, to pass on? And so she started to name a few symptoms. And she said, Mary, I want you to know the symptoms are so subtle that it's so easy to just pass them by, not pay attention, not put things together. And she said, I am a physician. And I didn't pay attention to the symptoms. And so I listened. We have no cancer in my family. As a matter of fact, I had done all the preventative everything. I had 4 pregnancies. I had everything going for me to not have ovarian cancer. I'd eaten a lot of kale in my lifetime. I'd done everything you were supposed to do. And 3 weeks after Ellen passed, I realized I had some of the symptoms that she was talking about. And this truly happened. I was out in our backyard. I walked in the house and I thought, okay, in Ellen's name, I'm going to call my physician and I'm going right in right away and do whatever you're supposed to do with this group of symptoms. And I got to the phone and I just was so, I don't want this to be true. It can't be true. There's no cancer in our family. This can't be a real thing. That I walked right on by. I did not make that phone call. I didn't make that phone call till I thought about Ellen's 10-year-old daughter that she had left. And I thought, and I knew her daughter, and I thought, how would I ever look at her daughter ever again if it turned out that I had missed the gift that her mother had given me? So I turned right around and I went back in the house and I called my physician. They had me come in actually the next day and they were remarkable. I was ready because I went online and I read about how those first visits and you're going to have to really advocate for yourself. And instead, my physician said, let's just ease your mind. let's have you go right over to the hospital right now and have a transvaginal ultrasound. I realized I was super lucky. I had never heard of that test before. I wouldn't have known what to ask for. I just happened to be with the right person at the right time. And I went in and found out that I didn't have one tumor, I had 5. And that was on a Thursday. And the next Thursday, I was scheduling surgery and had my surgery on November 9th, was diagnosed November 14th. And then there I am. You're in cancer world all of a sudden, that I had no idea how to navigate. I didn't know what to do. It never occurred to me that when you're diagnosed with cancer, then that you have to pick up the ball. You have to go the next steps. That that doesn't automatically happen. I'm sure sometimes it does, but we've now had several cancer experiences and it hasn't happened. We've had to make the phone calls. We've had to figure out the plans. And that's okay. It's just, I think, important to know.
Yeah, for sure.
So we found an oncologist, and then I just started to try to find what you do next, and and found out that at the stage that I was diagnosed, which because I had caught it so early was stage 1, there really was no treatment, and this was 10 years ago. It just was come back if you have any more symptoms, and I responded with, but I think, didn't you just remove in this surgery everything that would give me symptoms? So we started to do some of our own research, found a study in Britain, 54 women who had had a certain chemo regime, and 52 were still alive 5 years later.
And what is the normal life expectancy?
Well, with ovarian cancer, and the statistics have not changed since they've started taking statistics. It's pretty dismal. It's over a 5-year period. You're lucky if you're in the 50-50 category.
Ugh.
So it's a challenging cancer because it's almost always caught so late.
Yeah. So that study, I remember that, chemotherapy they were doing in Britain was actually miraculous.
It was miraculous. It was a small study. That's a tiny group of women. We brought that to my oncologist. She said, and that was all here locally done. And she said, let's go for it. I will order that same chemo regime for you. So it was 6 rounds, and it was an intense experience, but completely doable. Mm-hmm. And started chemo then in January of 2015. So I was diagnosed in November of 2014, started chemo January 2nd, 2015, and made the decision that since I knew I had no experience with chemotherapy, no experience what it was like, I just assumed it was going to be this nightmare of nausea and pain and exhaustion. And it definitely is some of those things. And that all depends on the particular chemo that you're experiencing and where you are in your disease. I decided that I would just make it an open situation to friends and family. I checked with the infusion folks, and they said, absolutely, you can have 2 people at a time, and we'll just rotate them every hour. Anyone who wants to come in, sit with you and see what chemo is like. And so that's what I did. And I did it for me because it helped me immeasurably. But I also thought, this is an opportunity, and hopefully, I know I was so frightened, and I thought maybe this will help other people as they're diagnosed with whatever, or family members or friends, at least understand how the process works and that they can do it. To make sure people didn't turn away from a chance to save their life because they were afraid of taking the chance, the experience of the chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 6 rounds, and it was intense. Of course, I lost my hair, which turned out to be now my favorite hair of my life. It never really grew back, but I just think it wasn't supposed to grow back. So here we are. Now, while I was in chemo, I noticed, and I was 62, I noticed that almost everyone around me, so they had us in groups of all the gynecological cancer folks, women were together. Everyone but one woman was younger than me, and they were all in their 40s and early 50s, and every single one had very advanced disease, and they had young families and careers and lives, and they were just, it broke my heart because I had the best chance out of all of them because I'd had the gift of knowing the symptoms and then being able to seek treatment so quickly. So I just started asking all of them as we were there together for all those hours, what were your symptoms? And what do you want to pass on? And we ended up collecting 12 symptoms, early symptoms of the 7 gynecological cancers, which ovarian is one of them, and put the list together. And our son, David, helped us make it all work magically on the computer because I didn't know how to do any of that. And we came up with a symptom calendar. I checked with several oncologists, so we vetted all of the symptoms. And then we decided what you really needed was an actual calendar. So not just the symptoms, but a calendar. So you can track your own symptoms. So when you notice something, you can start tracking that day when you call your physician and make an appointment. So when you show up for your appointment and the physician says, well, let's watch it. Come back in a couple of weeks or a month or two, because that has been the standard answer. Let's watch it. Let's track your symptoms. You can pull out your symptom calendar and say, already done. Here are my symptoms. Here's the frequency. Transvaginal ultrasound right away, please. And there it is. And so we did it. We put it together. I sent it to everyone that was on my email list and asked them to share it with everyone on their email list. And within 2 weeks, we started to hear from women. First, women who, and this is one of my favorite pieces, that had been terrified that something was wrong, but they didn't know really what to do next and when they started tracking, they realized that they only had those symptoms 2 or 3 days a month, not for really you need to have symptoms for 7 to 14 days continuously. So the best news was almost everyone that I heard from had peace of mind. They weren't anxious anymore. They weren't worried. They realized I'm fine. I'm okay. This is my normal body doing what it does normally. Every once in a while, we'd hear from someone who said, I did have 3 to 5 symptoms a day for 2 weeks. I went in, I had a transvaginal ultrasound. I do have something, but it's benign, meaning just at the beginning, hasn't spread. They have an excellent prognosis. And then on the rarest of occasions, I heard from women, 2 of whom were very close friends of mine, who used the symptom calendar and recognized that they actually were in an advanced stage 1 or the beginning of stage 2. And that was 7 and 8 years ago. And I just had dinner with both of them last week. So they are totally healthy, fine, well outside the window. So that's the story of the symptom calendar. And it's free, it's online, it's there for everyone to share with everyone, and it could save your life.
Wow. Your story, I've heard it before, obviously, but it gives me goosebumps every single time. Every single time. And the fact that you immediately cared about all the women around you and all the other people, and you weren't even really focused on yourself. You were just like, how can I help the next person? How can I help you? It just, says so much about you, Merry. So much about you. I'm curious though about your mindset, because I think that I just being around you on a regular basis, I know how positive you are. And the worst cases of everything, like things hit you and you work through it. And I'm curious how that came around or how that came about for you, because I don't think that people are necessarily born with that kind of mindset. I think it develops over time.
Well, I agree with you. I think, and we know because we're friends, we've had two very serious health situations that are, one is resolved and one is not resolved just in the past 3 months, that are life-threatening, with our grandson and with my husband. And so I was able to really bring all of that to a test again. I firmly believe that stuff happens. As I said earlier, I ate a lot of kale and I still got cancer. And stuff happens. And the only thing we can choose really is our attitude. And that doesn't mean I don't have days that I don't want to just I walked right by the phone and said, I am just going to not make that phone call. Actually, my husband was diagnosed with cancer this summer. And the morning of his surgery, I thought, I'm just going to stay in bed and pull the covers over my head, and I'm going to pretend we're not going into surgery today. And after about 5 minutes, I realized, no, the best way through fire is to go through fire. The best way to get to the other side is to just tie your shoes and walk on through. And at the same time, I have so much gratitude, because even with things that are extraordinarily difficult, I feel like I have the ability to do everything that I can. If I can think of another stone to turn over, if I can think of another something, I'm going to do it. Once I go through that process, I really feel fortunate that I'm in a position in just my attitude and my approach to life that I can do that, and then I can let go and say, well, if I can think of something else to do, I'll do it. But until then, I'm going to take a walk. If I can, I'm going to enjoy the day. I'm going to spend time being happy, and I'm going to make this time count, because I'm doing the best and the most that I can. At the beginning of cancer, I sat down and talked with my cancer, and I said, let's not make this a fight. I don't believe in surviving and not surviving. There's no war. There's not going to be a war in my body. How about if you can be 3 to 5% of me? I want to be at least 95% of me throughout this experience. And I really held on to that. So I never saw cancer as an enemy. And in fact, I really saw it as an extraordinary opportunity because of the symptom calendar. The women who've gotten in touch with me over the last 10 years, it just is mind-blowing, and how their lives have changed. That would not have happened if I hadn't been diagnosed with cancer. And I know this, I don't mean to sound like a big Pollyanna, but I really am grateful I'm so grateful that I said to cancer, you made a good choice in me. I have a wonderful support system. Otherwise, I'm healthy. I have insurance, and I recognize all those things make me extremely fortunate. And I also have an attitude that I like showing up in my own life. And I'm grateful that I can do all those things. And then I'm grateful that I can share all those things.
You are impressive, and you are definitely somebody to admire and look up to and be inspired by. That makes me curious, though, who and what inspires you?
That's such a great question. I just, in life, I had an aunt, actually, and her 100th birthday is next Wednesday, the 22nd, which happens to be the 7th birthday of our grandson, who is preparing for open heart surgery. And I just think somehow there's some marvelous energy connection and just a belief that the belief that you have the ability to show up when you need to show up. Friends and taking walks, and we've had some mighty fine dogs in our life. And some outstanding kitties, and all rescues that have taught me so much about living. I know it all sounds so corny, but it's just really simple stuff. I'm just grateful that, well, here's the deal. Right now, I happen to have plantar fasciitis in one foot, so I'm struggling a bit to walk. But honestly, I am so grateful that I have that foot, And it's working the best that it can. I mean, I might not have a foot, and that was part of what I might have lost during cancer, and I didn't. And so right now it's a little wonky, but it's working well enough. So I know it sounds ridiculous, but
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I love that I love that you brought up your grandson, because I think through you and Mike and your kids, I see how you all have taught him the same gift, this beautiful gift of, I'm living my life. I'm so grateful for my life. This is an amazing life. And it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to watch and to hear and to listen to. So I love that you share all of that. Thank you.
Well, he said something to us a couple of weeks ago that I think works for all of us, any age, any stage. He knows that what he's facing, and he was diagnosed at 6, and he knows, and he's watching him process this. And he sat down with Grandpa and I and said, I'd like to talk with you about the future. Oh, now it's the present. Uh-oh, now it's the past. And he said it that fast. And he said, that's exactly why you need to live in your moments. That's how fast they go away. And he said it with a big smile. And he said, so let's have fun right now today. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's just such a great reminder of being present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Isn't it amazing how children can say the wisest things, mm-hmm. And truly be our inspirations?
Yeah. Yes. So that's the story. And I want to add something about the Symptom Calendar.
Yes, please.
The 3 women who inspired me to do this, Ellen, Barbara, and Lori, all their lives ended way too short. But they were such a huge part of why this happened, because they all had gone to see their physicians multiple times and had been told, let's watch and see, it's probably something else, until it was too late for all of them. So early detection is your silver bullet. It means you have options. It means the rest of your body is healthy and functioning and can deal with the difficulty of chemo, the difficulties of surgery, that you can do that. And it gives your body a chance to fight early detection. Mm-hmm. So as much as you want to say it can't be, just make sure that it isn't.
Well, along those same lines, I mean, I want to point everybody to the calendar. But for those that are listening and may not even have a clue what you're talking about as signs and symptoms, what are the 12 symptoms?
Well, I happen to have right here the Symptom Calendar. At the top, it says, this is a Symptom Calendar for the early detection of ovarian, uterine, endometrial, vulvar, vaginal, fallopian, and cervical cancers. Remember, the intentions of symptoms are to get your attention. The first one, any irregular bleeding between periods after menopause. That includes brown spotting. That includes a single drop of blood. That includes truly the tiniest anything. Blood is always a symptom of something. Vaginal discharge, with or without odor, can be watery, bloody, or a yellowish color. Bloating or lower abdominal fullness. Pain in pelvic or abdominal area can be light, sudden, and it can also be sudden and severe. Urinary changes in urgency, pressure, frequency, changes in bowel movements. It can be constipation or diarrhea. So not in the consistency of the bowel, but in your just regular cycle. Difficulty eating. Quickly full, indigestion or unexplained weight loss. Vaginal itching and burning. A new lump or ulcer in your genital area, fatigue, shortness of breath, menstrual-like cramping can be light to heavy. A sense, and this I think is the most important, to take a moment, center yourself, and really connect with your whole body. and see if you sense that something is wrong, an intuition that something's amiss, that something's not quite right. So those are the 12 symptoms. They've been thoroughly vetted on many occasions now by different oncologists, and they make such a difference. And if you go online, there are just 4 symptoms, and I didn't have any of the 4 symptoms. I had these other symptoms, and the other symptoms are these are the symptoms that Ellen had told me about.
So where can people find the symptom calendar?
So all lowercase, symptomcalendar.com, and it will pop up, and there's a picture of my husband and I, and then there's a short article about us. Then there's a PDF link that you can click on a link, click on, and the symptom calendar will pop up, and it's just a 1-page. You can print it, and there it is. It'll has a generic 30-day calendar, and what it asks you to do is to just put the corresponding number to any of the symptoms on each day that you have them. And that's how you track the symptoms. So when you go in to see your physician, you can say, I had these symptoms these days in a row, sometimes more, sometimes less. But that is enough to request a transvaginal ultrasound without waiting, because it's waiting that can cost you your life.
Well, I hope that doctors actually are promoting this now, because I mean, like you said, if waiting is a problem, then people knowing this ahead of time is going to save them.
Absolutely. And the waiting is the problem, because the symptoms have always been called silent and deadly. Mm-hmm. And we started calling it, they're quiet. They're not silent. Women do have symptoms, but they're dismissed. And let's just see if they resolve on their own. When in fact, you can just be tested very easily, very quickly, and find out. Yeah. And almost always what you're going to find is total peace of mind. You're completely okay.
And that's worth it, right? That's worth every moment of tracking all of this.
Yeah. I actually think the peace of mind piece is as worth it. Mm-hmm. Early detection, because by far the most women will have peace of mind.
Which is absolutely 100% worth it.
It's everything. It's everything.
So what haven't we chatted about that you think we should? Is there anything on your mind, on your heart that you want to share?
Well, for me, it always goes to fear and anxiety that keep us from acting to save ourselves. And I really understand both of those things. And I really understand how hard it is to make yourself follow through and get yourself checked. And I also know early detection is the key. And it's just so difficult to say, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go in and be checked. But it's your only chance. So what I'm hoping is that women know they're not alone. They are empowered. You can do something about this to save your life. We can change the statistics about ovarian cancer in particular, but all the gynecological cancers. And the only way we're going to make a difference is if, as women, we stand up and say, we know what to do about this, and we're going to do something about it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That is so empowering, and I'm so glad you came to share all of this today.
Oh, I appreciate this so much, because I know in a year, someone who's heard this, their family member, their friend, someone that this has been passed on to, is going to be listening to your podcast a year from now saying, well, that was a heck of a year. It was very difficult, but I'm here.
And they'll be reaching out to you and to celebrate and say thank you.
Yeah, and I'll be asking them, well, how do you feel about no hair?
Well, Mary, thank you so much for making the time, especially while you're traveling and away and enjoying time with your family. So thank you. I appreciate you being here today.
And thank you for what you're doing, Carrie. I appreciate this so much. I treasure your friendship, and I love the opportunity to share. We can do this. We can do that. We can save our own lives.
For sure. Well, I hope that today's chat with Merry inspired you. I hope that you got something out of it. And ladies, if you know anyone who has any of the symptoms that she discussed today, I encourage you to start tracking it, to encourage your friends to start tracking it, because she's right. Early detection is everything. And you deserve the right to know and face whatever you need to face, good or bad, and to move through it and to survive it. If this podcast inspired you today or you enjoyed it, I just ask that you share and subscribe and let other people know, because spreading the word on things like this is important. And above all else, remember that I believe in you and you can manifest the life of your dreams.